Welcome to the psychological buffet we call torture. Don't worry, I'm not about to make you regret that breakfast you just had. It's just that I thought I'd share some of the fun ways people in history used to have a little fun with each other, gift each other with some really cruel presents. You might feel a little bit like, wow, this is brutal, or how the heck did they come up with this? But don't worry, you won't have to try any of this yourself unless, of course, you want to, but I really doubt you do. From bone-crushing wheels to giant elephants that moonlight as athletes, we're about to take a wild ride through some of history's more creative moments. Like this video, hit the subscribe button and buckle up. This is one trip you won't forget. Catherine's wheel, the breaking wheel. All right, so have you ever imagined yourself being strapped to a giant wooden wheel? Probably not, right? Well, back in the Middle Ages from around the 5th to the 15th century in Europe, that's exactly what they did with a huge wheel. And no, it wasn't for riding. This wheel was an official torture device, and definitely not the kind of fun ride you'd want to get on. When someone was punished with this, they'd be strapped tightly to the wheel, and then the executioner would take a hammer or an iron rod to break their arms and legs. The pain didn't stop at broken bones. After that, the wheel would start spinning slowly, dragging out the agony. It's like a horror movie that goes on for days and you can't change the channel. The poor soul would endure excruciating pain for days before finally meeting their end. And why stretch it out like this? Because what's a little more suffering when your bones are already having a blast with it, right? Now, you might ask, why would anyone do this? Simple. It was a go-to method of punishment during the Middle Ages, a time when compassion and mercy weren't exactly in vogue. These forms of torture left their brutal mark on history, something no one in their right mind would want to revisit. Saw torture, medieval horror that really saws the fun. All right, picture this. It's the 12th century, somewhere in Europe or the Middle East, and you're about to become the main attraction in the worst DIY project ever. Forget Pinterest, this one involves heavy-duty saws and your own body. Yes, I'm talking about the infamous sawing in half torture, because apparently cutting it in half was considered an extreme sport back then. A truly gruesome event for those who enjoy a bit of chaos with their bloodshed. So here's the deal. You get strapped upside down to make sure your blood rushes to your head, keeping you nice and awake for the whole event. Because why not extend the torture, right? The executioners, in all their bloody glory, would proceed with a saw to cut you right down the middle, starting from, well, let's just say from below the belt and working their way up. And no, you didn't get to tap out early. Oh no, you had to stay alive long enough for the saw to reach either your heart or throat, just like a rough day at the office. And why was this so popular? Because medieval kings and rulers weren't just about beheadings. No, they loved to keep things interesting and, extreme. Why just execute when you can turn it into a whole afternoon event? This was medieval entertainment, my friend. There was no Netflix, so why not have a public spectacle where everyone could gather around and watch the saw do its work? Some people in the crowd probably thought, wow, that's extreme. But hey, at least it's not my turn. In the end, this particular torture was just another fun-filled day for the royalty. And you? Well, if you survived, congratulations. But let's face it, you'd probably never want to look at a saw the same way again. Brazen bull. The grilling you shouldn't sign up for. Picture this, it's the 6th century BC and you're in ancient Greece. You're living your best life till you end up as the special guest inside an iron bull. This isn't a BBQ party, my friend. No, this is the Brazen bull. It's a giant hollow statue of a bull made of bronze, and guess what? You're the steak inside. Here's how it goes. They lock you inside this blazing hot bull with fire burning under its belly to roast you like a live rotisserie. Sounds fun, right? But don't worry. The best part is the system of pipes that turns your screams into mooing sounds. Yeah, your agony becomes an epic symphony for the audience outside. And don't think it'll be over quickly. The bull is designed to slowly cook you alive. It's the ancient equivalent of being stuck in a slow-cooked nightmare. Your flesh will burn as the heat climbs and the death is prolonged just for that extra touch of suffering. So next time you're at a BBQ and someone mentions beef, you'll know what to say. Not my style, thanks. Oh, here's a fun fact about this torture method. Phalaris, the tyrant of Sicily who invented the bronze bull, ended up being its victim. His own men, fed up with his cruelty, decided to give him a taste of his own medicine. They tricked him into climbing inside the bull, promising him a special demonstration. Then they locked him in, set the fire going, and roasted him alive. Talk about poetic justice, right? The guy who made the torture device became its own victim. You can almost hear the sizzle of karma. Guess he didn't read the fine print on his own creation. Warning, may backfire on tyrants. Bamboo torture, the fast track to painful growth. All right, let's take a little trip to ancient Asia, specifically China and Japan, where people didn't have video games to distract them, so they got really creative with how to cause suffering. Enter the bamboo torture, a method that is basically nature's way of saying, hey, let's make you a human plant and watch you grow painfully. So here's the deal. You've been naughty, or maybe you just happen to be in the wrong place at the wrong time, because we all know that's how life works in ancient times. You get tied down in the middle of a forest, but not just any forest. Oh no, you're in a bamboo forest. Why bamboo? Well, bamboo grows at a ridiculously fast rate, up to 1 meter a day. So you're just lying there, helpless, as you feel the young, sharp shoots of bamboo start growing under and through you. They're like little needles that have a job to do. Penetrate your body and make you wish you never looked at a bamboo stick the wrong way. The bamboo plants don't just grow quickly. They grow through you, slowly but surely, poking and prodding your body in ways no one really asks for. And let's not forget that bamboo is incredibly tough, so each piercing is like a tiny, torturous jab that feels more like a personal vendetta from Mother Nature herself. As the bamboo keeps growing, remember it's not taking breaks for a Netflix binge. It'll start to push through your body, your stomach, your chest, your arms, wherever the shoots happen to find a way. And the kicker here, you're alive while this is happening. Yep, as this green menace slowly punctures your flesh, you get to experience every excruciating moment of it. It's a slow, drawn-out death, but hey, at least it's not quick, right? You'll eventually die, but in the meantime, you're going to feel like you're being turned into a human kebab, and not the tasty kind. So, in short, if you ever find yourself in ancient China or Japan and see bamboo growing faster than you can blink, maybe think twice before you do something that might get you tied to the ground, surrounded by fast-growing plants. Because Mother Nature? She's got some serious issues with you, buddy. Scaphism, the ultimate gourmet dish with the side of death. All right, let's step into the luxurious world of ancient Persia in the 5th century BC, where apparently torturers had a very weird idea of what qualifies as dining. Picture this, you're caught up in some shady dealings, or maybe you just looked at someone wrong and instead of being thrown into a dungeon, you get something a bit more creative. Welcome to Scaphism, also known as the worst seafood platter ever. So here's the setup. You're tied down to a boat, but not just any boat. This one's designed to make sure you wish you were anywhere but here. The boat is shaped like a little shell that traps you inside, leaving only your head and limbs exposed. You know, you're pretty much a human sandwich, except instead of soft breads, you've got sheets of misery surrounding you. Now, the real kicker, you're force-fed milk and honey. It sounds sweet, right? Like the worst breakfast ever, but no, this is a prelude to disaster. The idea is that you'll get a nice, juicy case of diarrhea, and from there, things go downhill. You see, the milk and honey combo doesn't just give you the runs, it also attracts insects. Like, imagine your body becoming a bug buffet. They start swarming, crawling all over you, feasting on your exposed skin. Sounds like a lovely spa treatment, doesn't it? But wait, we're not done yet. The best part, you're left to float in some nasty swamp water where the bugs, flies, and various creatures can feast to their heart's content. And you don't just die quickly, oh no. Your body is slowly consumed by nature's finest scavengers who eat you from the inside out. I mean, talk about a slow death. You'll be begging for sweet relief, but there's none coming. Just endless days of suffering until your body finally gives in. The most messed up part? The process is so slow and torturous, the victim often dies from mental anguish before the physical torture does them in. If you're wondering whether Scaphism was effective as a deterrent, well, let's just say people were terrified to cross anyone in ancient Persia after this. This wasn't just a punishment, it was a horror show. So, next time you're thinking of trying Persian food, just remember, milk and honey might sound delicious, but it's all fun and games until the bugs show up. Scaphism, it's not just a meal, it's a cuisine of agony. Execution by elephant, the wildest death sentence ever. All right, buckle up, because we're about to dive into one of the most dramatic execution methods in history. Execution by elephant. Yep, you heard me right. When the ancient rulers of India and Southeast Asia in the 19th century wanted to make an example out of someone, or just really wanted to show off how epic their elephants were, this was their go-to move. Imagine your last moments being crushed under the feet of an animal that could squash a car like it's nothing. Doesn't sound like the greatest way to go, huh? Yeah, I agree. So here's how it went down. If you were sentenced to this form of execution, which was generally reserved for serious criminals, traitors, or those with bad luck, you would be tied up, sometimes in public, and placed in front of a trained elephant. The elephants, often seen as majestic and revered animals, would then be given a job to do. That wasn't just about looking cute at the zoo. They'd use their massive size to crush, stomp, or rip apart the victim in ways that would make a wrestler jealous. In some cases, the elephants weren't just out here doing simple stomping. They were trained to pull limbs off, snap bones, or even flip bodies over, depending on how creative the executioner felt. The elephants were sometimes also trained to use their trunks for more delicate tasks, like smashing heads or twisting the body in ways that were not fun for anyone involved. But hey, at least it was all very theatrical, something you'd expect to see in a Shakespearean tragedy, but with more tusks and less poetry. Now, if you were lucky, and by lucky I mean you somehow weren't dead before this started, you'd feel the elephant step on your chest, causing internal organs to explode, or if the elephant was particularly enthusiastic, it might crush your skull with one swift stomp. It was a slow, horrific process. But, at least the show had some flair. It's like the ancient equivalent of a public execution mixed with a circus act, except you're not the one getting the applause. And the best part? Elephants had zero interest in whether you were begging for mercy. They were just doing their job. It's like sending a bouncer into a club to kick people out, except the bouncer is a 5-ton animal that's got some serious strength. You can't really argue with that. Flaying, a skin-deep horror show. Back in the good old days, think ancient Babylon, the rise of China's dynasties, and the Aztec Empire. If you were unlucky enough to fall into the hands of the executioners back then, your fate was as bad as it could get. I mean, when they say flaying, they're not talking about a nice day at the spa. No, this was a painful process. Picture it, you're tied to a post, and then your executioner, who's probably showing up there to make today become the worst day of your life, starts slicing away at your skin. It begins at your scalp, because why not start from the top? Every slice is a slow, painful tear of your body, like an unwanted jacket being removed, except it's happening to you. And as they work their way down your body, they're literally peeling off the layers that protect you from the cold, harsh reality of the world. Yep, that's happening. In the Aztec Empire, which reached its peak between the 14th and 16th centuries, flaying was considered a highly sacred ritual for their gods. The poor souls who were chosen were basically human sacrifices. Imagine being plucked out of the crowd only to find yourself as the star of a show that no one wanted to watch. And the worst part, they weren't always killed right away. In some cases, they were left alive for hours, writhing in pain as they bled out with nothing left but raw, exposed flesh. So much for just a scratch, right? Flaying wasn't just a painful way to die, it was entertainment. People would gather around to watch as someone else slowly had their skin peeled off like an avocado. What better way to pass the time? It was like reality TV, but way more grotesque and no commercial breaks. The best part? Some victims were honored by being skinned completely and used for ritualistic purposes. The victim's skin could be worn as a ceremonial cloak or even transformed into a mask, like the ultimate souvenir. In some cases, the skin was stretched and preserved, so you could basically wear the face of the unfortunate soul you just sacrificed. Nothing says respect like wearing someone's face as a trophy. Now, imagine you're the unlucky one who gets chosen for this. The psychological torment is as intense as the physical one. You'd be wondering every moment, like, how much more of me will they take? And then finally, death. It wasn't always quick, but when it came, at least you could rest, knowing the torturous process was over. Just a fun day in the life of an ancient executioner, right? So basically, history full of brutal, creative ways to make people regret existing. But hey, at least we've evolved, right? Still, if you're thinking about trying out any of these methods, like the bronze bull or impalement, maybe don't. You'll probably end up as a cautionary tale in the future. Lesson? Live big, but skip the painful ancient torture methods. Trust me, you'll thank me later. And that's all, folks. Now, please like the video, hit the subscribe button, and turn on the notification to make sure you don't miss any interesting videos from us. Bye.